We are live on social media. Good evening, everyone. Greetings of the day, and thank you all of you for joining us today on this special occasion of World Environment Day. My name is Neha Bhatnagar, and I'm part of Convergence Energy Services Limited, a newly created public company under the ESL Group. I would like to inform you all that the chief guest of today's event is Shri Nilesh Kabral, Honorable Minister of Power for Government of Goa. Thank you very much, sir, for gracing this event. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme for today's program is on how e-mobility can contribute significantly to environmental sustainability, especially in the COVID pandemic scenario that has engulfed the entire world. The flow of today's program will include, firstly, the partnerships that Convergence Energy Services Limited is entering into to achieve this mandate, followed by a lively panel discussion with experts from the fields of environment, health, and electric mobility. We are live streaming this event on our Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube channels, and you are requested to engage with your respective personal and official handles. A recorded version of this meeting will be available later on. A Q&A session is coming at the end of this event. You all are requested to please submit your questions in the chat box of this event. To set the context for this event and welcome our esteemed guests, I would like to request Shri Saurabh Kumar, Executive Vice Chairperson, ESL Group of Companies. Sir, we are delighted to begin this event with your welcome address.
Thank you, Nehaji. Honorable Minister of Power, Government of Goa, Mr. Kunal, Principal Secretary, Energy, Government of Goa, Mr. D. Costa, Director, DNRE, Government of Goa. We also have Mr. Sanjeev Joglekar, Member Secretary, JEDA. We will be joined shortly by Dr. R. Hari Kumar, Director, EMC, Government of Kerala. And we also have this unique event which has been put together, which also has a fair bit of very senior private sector representatives, starting with Shri Nishant Arya, who is the Vice Chairperson of the JBM Group, one of the largest e-bus manufacturers in the country. We also have Shri Avdesh Kumar Jha from Fortum. They are very, very big as far as the charging infrastructure is concerned. And we have Shri Manu Saxena, Vice President Mobility in TVS Motor Companies. As we know, two-wheelers is something which is extremely important to electrify. So I would like to welcome each and every one, in particular the Honorable Minister of Power, Government of Goa. Sir, you've always been a visionary and a guiding light for all of us. You have, in a very quick time, shown us the way we could help increase the footprint of renewable energy in the state of Goa. And I think your today's vision and direction will also make sure that whatever we do for e-mobility, for clean air, is something that will get a massive fillip. In fact, sir, I would also like to say that the first convergence MOU and agreement has been signed under your and Mr. R.K. Singh, the Honorable Union Minister of Power's leadership. Today, I'm very happy to report that CESL signed a second similar agreement with Meghalaya, basing on the Goa agreement. And so as a pioneer state, as a visionary that you have been, we would like to take this forward. I would also like to thank Kunal and welcome him as the Principal Secretary Energy of Goa. And it's a very important topic. All of us in this country, if you see, the top 11 most polluted cities in the world actually are in India. And one of the, it's not that everything will be wished away by e-mobility, but it's a very strong pillar that we have as far as clean air is concerned. I would also like to welcome colleagues from USAID, sorry, Apurva ji and a colleague, and we look forward to signing of several MOUs in the field of e-mobility. We already have signed, as I mentioned, MOUs on solar. So let me once again welcome the Honorable Minister, all senior government representatives from the state of Goa and Kerala, and all my colleagues from the private sector. And let me hand it back to Neha Bhatnagar for the rest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We are delighted to be in the presence of such esteemed guests. Today, we are partnering with state governments and implementers to deploy specially designed vehicles such as garbage trucks in Pune Municipal Corporation, testing energy solutions for high altitude needs like in the Union Territory of Ladakh, and connecting electric chargers with solar generation to further reduce emissions. I would like to now invite Ms. Mahua Acharya, Managing Director, Convergence Energy Services Limited, to join me to announce these partnerships. Ms. Acharya is a global practitioner in clean energy and brings to this new company her expertise in carbon finance and delivering the last mile access to clean energy. She has spearheaded and closely developed the partnerships that we are launching today, and so it's a pleasure to invite her to introduce them. Ma'am, first we will start with the MOU exchange with Government of Goa for clean and green mobility. For this MOU signing, Ms. Mahua Acharya, Managing Director, Convergence Energy Services Limited, and Mr. Kunal, Principal Secretary, Energy, Government of Goa, will be signing the MOUs from the both sides. I would also like to introduce my colleague, Shri Tarun Tayal, uh, GM, Convergence Energy Services Limited, on behalf of CSL. He is signing the MOU. Through this partnership, I would like to inform that CSL will execute and implement clean energy and sustainable programs in the transportation sector in state of Goa through the Department of New and Renewable Energy. This MOU entails rolling out of electric two-wheelers for the citizens of Goa to switch to electric vehicles and also utilize various demand incentives declared by the state government. ESL and DNRE will also collaborate on promoting cleaner and climate resilient transportation programs in the state by deploying various segments of electric vehicles. In addition, we will also be conducting consumer awareness campaigns and drives to increase the offtake of electric vehicles in the coastal states. We need to pause. We need to clap. Sir, I would request you please post the MOU. We need to clap. Thank you, sir. I would now request Shri Kunal, Principal Secretary Energy Government of Goa, to say a few words on this partnership.
Honorable Minister Power, Sri Nilesh Kabral, Sri Saurabh Kumar, Executive Vice President ESL, Ms. Mahua Acharya, and all the participants from CSL and various parts of the country. A very happy Environment Day to all of you. It's indeed a momentous occasion for us that for quite a long time we were planning to introduce electric vehicles, and on an experimental basis we had already hired 2 vehicles from the CS, and it has been quite encouraging. And I must say that Government of Goa, driven by Honorable Chief Minister, Honorable Power Minister, is very keen on increasing and encouraging the use of electric vehicles in Goa, because it's one of the major tourist oriented state in the country, and we are having a very high number of public vehicles, cars, tourist cars, bikes. We are only state most probably where there is a pilot system of the bikes. So that way we are also making our policy, which is under submission stage to the government, to make it lucrative for people to adopt the electric vehicle. And also we are planning to use proper financial model in which CSL obviously has to play a very major role in making electric vehicles affordable for the masses and for the service providers. And we would love to see more and more number of green plates in the coming days, and a great success to CSL in increasing the use of electric vehicles all over the country. Thank you.
Respected Minister of Power, Government of Goa, Shri Nilesh Kabral, has spearheaded the transition and smooth adoption of electric mobility in the state of Goa. He had previously announced a host of subsidies and incentives for the citizens, including waiving of the registration fee. Sir, we request you to share your vision for the state of Goa.
Thank you, Moa. How are you? I think all of you should be fine because with your support, we will be able to do what we had started almost a year back. Taking this forward, I would like to thank Saurabh ji, Kunal ji, Alex ji, and all the other people who have been very instrumental to take the Goa's first state policy for convergence model. Well, now going ahead today, we have signed with you the Goa help what we require from you as a fatherly concern. Let me say use the word fatherly concern because you have more bargaining power than us here in the state of Goa, even though we are in the state. But Goa being a very small state, we have a lot of interest in the state by different type of people. We have a lot of tourists. We have got 10 times our population as tourists coming to Goa. And these tourists who come to Goa come over a period of a year. Unfortunately, because of COVID and related issues, the tourism season has not gone in the directions what normally have. And in that, we have almost 600 charter flights landing from different countries in the state of Goa alone to be tourist with tourists. So we have to showcase Goa in the right direction. And as Kunalji has pointed out, that with these millions of tourists who are coming every year, and if you the SDG recently our state has increased their thing, but we are also one of the highest consuming states according to population in the form of diesel and petroleum product in fossil fuel. So somehow we are all focusing ourselves in bringing this down over the next 2-3 years by giving this. We are tying up with you today, where we have signed a policy where we have taken you as our official partners. Now, as EV policy, we have done this with convergence, but we would also like to say that we are looking forward not only in that direction, we are looking forward in all directions with the help of CSL and ESL, where we want you to be partners in our state ventures to bring this state of Goa into zero carbon. Basically, we want the state to be a zero carbon free state, where with the achievements and what we want to target ourselves. See, today we are targeting first 10,000 electrical two-wheelers, which can reduce almost 5,000 tons of climate change causing CO2 emissions. So I think with this step, we want the first 10,000 to happen in the next 2-3 months with your help, and then maybe you look over for the next 10,000, and ultimately our fleet, because today the fleet of vehicles in Goa, whether it is because we have signed with you for all the vehicles, whether it is a two-wheeler, three-wheeler, commercial vehicle, and all such of vehicles, that is what we are looking forward from you, and we are looking forward in the sense because in the tourist, the population density of the state against the population density of the vehicles in the state is equal. So for every one person, we have every a vehicle in the state. That is, I think Goa is a unique state in having such a situation. And looking at that, we would like to help our commercial taxis and city buses, the private buses. Government has already placed an order for 100 electrical buses, of which already 30 have been delivered in the state, and the others are going to be delivered. So the government said the public transport we are looking at and they are going forward. But we have also, if the government has the percentage of 100 vehicles, the government function with its vehicle around 35% of the entire fleet. So we have 65% of the fleet where are owned by private people. And we want you, with your help and all the other people, I was going through the entire e-mobility and air pollution on World Environment Day, your tentative program, and I have seen that you have a lot of other partners whom we want to bring on, and I think with your help and with their help, we will achieve in the state of Goa over the next at least 2 to 3 years a zero carbon neutral state in the one of the first states in the country where we can look forward on these directions. Well, with these few words, once again, I would like to thank on the World Environment Day, where we have signed the MOU between CSL and DNRE to become a model state for electrical vehicles, the charging station infrastructure, and in whatever forms of electrical vehicles in the state of Goa. And we are also looking forward with your help in the manufacturing of vehicles in Goa. We have one or two manufacturers who are manufacturing vehicles in Goa on the EV sector. But with your help, we would like you to bring in board, and whatever help from the government side is required, we can always coordinate with the manufacturers in the form of some land or whatever policy we can have in manufacturing of EV vehicles, manufacturing of charging station equipments, manufacturing of your batteries, charging batteries, lithium batteries or whatever. And that is all we are looking at from Saurabhji and from Mohaji, that Goa has to be in a state where we can showcase the state of Goa to the entire states of India and the whole world. Thank you once again, and God bless you all.
Thank you so much, sir. We'll move to the second agreement, which is with Energy Management Center Kerala to deploy electric two-wheelers in the state of Kerala. To sign this agreement, I would request Ms. Mahua Acharya, MD CESL, and Dr. R. Harikumar, Director Energy Management Center, Government of Kerala, to sign from both the sides.
Can I just say a few words?
I would also request Ms. Mahua to please say a few words on this partnership.
Thank you, Neha, and a very warm welcome to all of you here. You just witnessed a state where we have now moved into an all-encompassing arrangement with the Honorable Minister and others at the Government of Goa that includes electric mobility, charging stations, solar home systems, large-scale solar power as well. So I'm so glad that we are making progress in finding affordable ways of affordable solutions for getting more two-wheeler electric vehicles out on the road. I'm very, very pleased that EMC Kerala has come forward and we have reached an agreement. We've reached a position to sign an agreement. This marks the first large-scale government-to-government or a B2B arrangement to get two-wheelers out to the masses. We're really, really pleased. I'm personally extremely pleased that we have so many private sector partners who have come forward today and who have been working with us in the past few months. It's been an intense few months to try and devise models to make these vehicles affordable at scale. We all know that the biggest challenge to getting two-wheelers out there is to do this at scale. So thank you very much, Dr. Harikumar, for coming forward. I really hope and I'm looking forward to seeing you in person.
Now I will request Mahua ma'am to please sign the agreement, and Dr. Harikumar sir, if you can please sign the agreement and if you can pose a copy of the agreement for us. Thank you so much, sir. As Mahua ma'am said, that through this agreement, CSL will roll out a program of electric two-wheelers for the government employees who can make outright purchase, and also we will provide them financing options like EMIs. I would also like to take this opportunity to inform you all that CSL has already deployed 144 electric vehicles and installed 24 electric chargers in the state of Kerala, and we look forward to support of EMC in the two-wheeler segment. I would request Dr. R. Harikumar, Director EMC, Government of Kerala, to say a few words on this partnership. Sir.
Namaskar. Respected Power Minister of Goa, Saurabh Sir, Mahua Madam, other dignitaries participating in this event. We are very pleased and it is a great occasion for us for signing this MOU with CESL, the subsidiary of EESL, for providing electric wheelers, two-wheelers in the state. And in fact, this is a right moment that we have a new government. Yesterday, in the Legislative Assembly, we had a revised budget presented by the Honorable Finance Minister, wherein he has announced 200 crore rupees for providing loan scheme for people in the state of Kerala, and another 15 crore as for interest subvention. For 10,000 vehicles, 10,000 two-wheelers, and 5,000 e-auto rickshaws, e-rickshaws, we are planning this financial year. So kindly help us achieve this goal. And as the Honorable Minister of Goa has also told, we have one e-rickshaw manufacturer in public sector in Kerala, in Trivandrum. So we would request your earnest efforts and earnest support to help our industry also grow. And Kerala is a very small but beautiful state in the southern tip of the Indian peninsula, and we have been facing a lot of wraths of the nature for the last 2-3 years. Of course, we are to be blamed for that lopsided development strategy which has created such a misfortune from the nature. And we are very committed for a carbon neutral Kerala and energy efficient Kerala. So we look forward to your great support and cooperation, and let us make joint hands and make this a wonderful carbon neutral state in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving on, I would use this opportunity to mention that Convergence Energy Services Limited have also partnered today with Pune Municipal Corporation to provide the municipality with electric three-wheeler garbage collector trucks. Shri Vikram Kumar, Municipal Commissioner, Pune Municipal Corporation, unfortunately could not join us due to his official commitments to curb the COVID pandemic in the Pune city. But we wish our partners, Pune Municipal Corporation, good luck, and we look forward to make Pune a clean city in future through the means of clean mobility. Ma'am, now we will move on for the MOU signing with JBM Renewables Private Limited. Through this partnership, we will undertake setting of public charging infrastructure for electric vehicles and battery energy storage solutions across the country. I would welcome Shri Nishant Arya, Vice Chairman JBM Group, and Ms. Mahua Acharya to please sign the MOUs from both the sides. So can you please pose a copy of the MOU here? I would like to mention that Convergence Energy Services Limited and JBM will collaborate to create a charging infrastructure for electric vehicles pan-India, comprising of AC and DC fast chargers, and further partner on second use applications of batteries of electric vehicles for storage and grid management. In addition, CSL and JBM will be working together to have integrated charging, energy storage, and renewable energy solutions. I would request Shri Nishant Arya, Vice Chairman JBM Group, to say a few words on this partnership.
First of all, I would like to congratulate everyone on the World Environment Day today. And I think on this momentous day, it's a great step that we are all taking to really move forward, to really see that how we are moving on the path and the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister. And it's heartening to see the steps taken by CESL under the leadership of Sri Saurabh Kumar and Ms. Mahua Acharya, who have been really moving forward. And we at JBM are actually totally committed, and that's how we're working across the EV ecosystem, whether in electric buses or in EV charging systems, in energy storage and renewable energy, and across other areas of sustainability. So we are looking forward to this partnership and to really see that how we could work together to create value for all our end consumers and stakeholders, and working towards all the zero emission technologies. Thank you.
Going ahead, the time is for our MOU with Fulcrum Charge and Drive India Private Limited. This MOU entails to develop and manage public charging stations for electric vehicles across India. To sign this MOU, we have with us Shri Avdesh Kumar Jha, Vice President, Fulcrum Charge and Drive India Private Limited, and Ms. Mahua Acharya, MD CESL. I would like to mention about this partnership that CESL and Fulcrum Charge will establish, set and operate charging points for charging of electric vehicles and the public charging mode at several locations in India. Both the entities will develop charging plazas across cities to support India's transition to clean mobility. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. I would request Shri Adhesh Kumar Jha, Vice President, Forum Charge and Driving Gear Limited, to please share his vision about this partnership.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm delighted to speak at this event which has been organized on a very seminal day, that's the World Environment Day. And what could be the better topic than the electric vehicles to get meaningfully engaged? So let me introduce Fortum first, because Fortum is new in India. So we are a Finnish energy utility company where the government of Finland owns the majority shares. The 50.8% majority shares is owned by government of Finland, and it is a state-owned energy company. And we have been operating primarily in the sustainable energy sources coming from hydro, nuclear, solar, wind, and in India we have almost 1 gigawatt of solar operating assets. In the electric vehicle systems, we have been since beginning, 2011 in Norway, we started our first public charging stations. And now we are one of the leading operators in Norway, Finland, and Sweden, where we have more than 6,000 plus charging stations. And 30% of that is the DC fast. Besides that, we are also having the roaming platform on which almost 200,000 plus charging point operators are connected. So that gives a complete, smooth ride to the all European travelers across Europe. In India, we started our operations in 2017, and now we are having 103 charging points, all public, charging points on DC 001 as well as the CCS 50 kilowatt charging stations. Besides, globally, what we have started recently on the electric mobility is the battery recycling. We are probably one of the only country or the company which manages to retrieve more than 80% of rare earth materials from the lithium-ion battery. And we provide these retrieved materials to the cell manufacturers currently in Europe. And we have a plan to bring those things in India as well as the market grows in India in coming times. Coming back to this MOU, I'm very happy that the CSL has chosen us as one of the partners for developing the EV charging systems jointly across different cities. And here we would like to add value to what CSL is doing, because CSL is doing a fantastic job in developing the ecosystem for the electric mobility. And they are the largest operator, having 1,000 plus charging stations. So we would like to add value by a couple of ways. One is clearly, we had established the world's first co-located public charging stations with Tesla in Oslo. We would like to demonstrate the similar kind of, the expertise here as well, because we bring the knowledge and expertise of operating these systems in last 10 years. So we can add value to CSL by developing this co-located charging hub or charging plaza across different cities. Besides that, we will be also, helping CSL if they desire that we can develop the charging management systems, which we have our in-house proprietary, which we have developed over 10 years, which is scalable, robust, and all, and the the mobile applications as well for the end consumers. And besides that, on the battery recycling, we can explore the possibilities. So at the end, I must thank you, Mr. Saurabh Kumar, Ms. Mahua Acharya, and Mr. Mohan for giving us the opportunity to be your partner. And let's join together to make the electric mobility successful in India. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Moving forward, we will now be signing MOU with TVS Motor Company to set up EV chargers for two-wheelers and three-wheelers. To sign this MOU, I would welcome Shri Manu Saxena, Vice President, Future Mobility and Dealer Transformation, TVS Motor Company, and on behalf of Ms. Mahua Acharya and the CSL. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. A brief about this partnership. CSL enters into this partnership with TVS Motors Company to set up an ecosystem of charging of two-wheelers and three-wheelers pan-India. CSL and TVS Motor Company intends to drive the implementation of electric vehicle charging infrastructure across Indian cities comprising of AC 001 and Type 2 AC chargers. I would request Shri Manu Saxena, Vice President Future Mobility and Dealer Transformation, TVS Motor Company, to say a few words about this MOU.
Thank you, Neha. First of all, Honorable Minister of Power, Kabral ji, Saurabh ji, all the other dignitaries from various states, Ms. Mahua. It's my great pleasure to sign this MOU on behalf of TVS with TESL, especially on this day of Environment Day. Let me talk about the TVS Motor Company. We have been in India for a long time, and our focus center has always been customers. We have been at the forefront of providing green technology to our customers, and that has been our motive all this while. Last year, we launched our first electric vehicle, TVS iQube, in 2 cities, and it has had very good response despite the pandemic. We would see this as the first step towards larger share of electrification in our portfolio. We believe that there are two key anchor points as far as transition to mobility, electric mobility goes. Mobility in India is a very core need, and therefore the two important aspects are that very good performing and high quality products from reputed OEMs come into the market. That is one big driver. The second big driver is a very expansive reach of charging infrastructure. Both of these would bring a lot of peace of mind to customers who share a big. So with these two big drivers, it will be very sustainable transition which will happen over a period of time, and that is where I see the partnership with the CESL, an innovative and trusted partner like CESL, will take us a very long way. I really look forward to many innovative solutions on charging space and expansion into several cities, adding to what CSL already has. I wish all the very best of luck to the entire team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I take great pride in announcing that Convergence Energy Services Limited has today launched a lot of new partnerships, full day on the occasion of World Environment Day, spanning from the northernmost tip of Ladakh to southernmost state of Kerala, from Maharashtra in the west to eastern tip of state of Meghalaya. I would request Ms. Mahua Acharya, Managing Director CESL, to please share new partnerships on clean energy solutions that took place earlier in the day with different government entities.
Thank you, Neha. And once again, welcome and thank you. In the interest of, and for some of you that do not know the Honorable Power Minister of Goa and our colleagues in Goa, let me tell you where we are with Goa and how much time it has taken, or how little time it has taken to get there. A few months ago, we signed a memorandum of understanding with Goa for 110 megawatts of solar power decentralized across the whole state. No one plant is more than about 2 megawatts. So you can imagine this is a massive endeavor. This was unique because on the same project, we will be delivering energy efficient lights and energy efficient pump sets. The pump sets and lights are given to farmers for free. So you can imagine that the impact of a project like this can do through a single endeavor, a single investment. This was about 5 months ago. We then quickly moved, and the Honorable Minister, as soon as he found that we were coming back to Goa every 2 weeks, he told us to put in electric systems or solar home systems for the last few homes and hamlets in Goa that do not have power supply. So we launched that a few weeks ago. We have in discussions, in late stage discussions with floating solar. These are mining runoffs where the pools there's no economic use to them. So we'll be looking at putting some solar power on them. And today, about in 4 months, Goa has reached a point of getting an electric vehicle policy, which I can confidently say is the first in the country that puts a monetary value on scrap. It's a cash for clunkers policy that gives you a cash incentive for putting your old fossil fuel bike out of the market. So while we're all looking to get two-wheelers out onto the roads and three-wheelers and four-wheelers, in parallel, and as soon as we can reach that discussion, we'll also have to think about how do we get the old things out of the market. It's been only a few months that we've now reached we've just signed an agreement with the government of Kerala, and I'm so happy to see them here. We were unfortunately not able to bring the government of Andhra Pradesh here. We have another very similar large-scale agreement with the government of Andhra Pradesh. Unfortunately, the people on the other side, the counterparts, are unfortunately ill with COVID. At the last minute, the Pune commissioner, together with others in the government of Maharashtra and Pune, had to do COVID rounds. We've been in discussions with Kinetic, we've been in discussions with Pune municipality, and have managed to get to an agreement today where electric three-wheelers will be used for garbage collection. So in a few months, and with all of our private sector partners, and all of whom I can say I've become friends with you, because in the last few months, I have primarily been the person badgering you, asking for solutions and ideas and suggestions for how we can get two-wheelers and three-wheelers at scale out into the market. So yes, of course, charging stations are in fact absolutely necessary, but you all know much better than me that in fact the only way to get these electric vehicles out on the road is to make them competitive. And in fact, we should aspire to make them cheaper than fossil fuels. I know that it may not work for all of your companies, but we all have to, for the sake of the environment and for sake of a significant day like today. So today's been also very important. We've used the occasion, since yesterday in fact, we've used the occasion to sign several agreements. This morning we signed a memorandum of understanding with the Meghalaya Power Development Corporation, again for the solarization of agricultural feeders, so about 60 megawatts of solar power. And similar to Goa, so as Goa helps us set a precedence for how to do this kind of work, we will also be putting out energy efficient lights and pump sets. So we're really pleased that this one project gives us the ability to design a model of integrated renewable energy plus energy efficiency, and all of that is still cheaper than what the utility currently pays for just agricultural power. So I'm very hopeful that this model will will help us scale, and we're back here in a few months with many more hundreds of megawatts. We also then we signed a tripartite memorandum of understanding with the administration of the UT of Ladakh. This was of course a promisingly extremely difficult project, very high on impact, because this is a mini grid that replaces diesel in the area of Zanskar Valley, where we were told last evening that it goes down to minus 45 degrees. I have no idea what that feels like. I have no clue how battery performance will be at those temperatures, and how we will manage to get transportation up there. But the level of impact a project like this promises to deliver will be unprecedented. So it's been a very important day for us, and we signed these agreements. I also mentioned that let me also mention that we have a panel discussion right after this on air pollution, on mobility and air pollution. We're doing this, of course, in the interest of the environment and interest of climate change. But what affects us today and what affects each of us on a short-term basis is, in fact, the ambient air, air pollution right outside us. So unless we get things done at scale, and unless we can get our policies to put the right kind of incentives in the right places at the right time, Delhi will always feel like that October portion of Delhi will go beyond 3 months and it will just become longer. So we have a panel that I'm taking liberty to invite any of you that would be interested in this discussion. Let me also say that none of this would be possible. We've reached this point of getting to the electric mobility discussions with the help of USAID, who have helped develop the electric mobility business at ESL. The four-wheeler business that ESL has been developing and has started out was with the leadership and the support of USAID. And I'm thanking Apurva. I see that Apurva is still there. So Apurva, thank you so much for being here. We look forward to further assistance and further support of USAID as we try to build up the ecosystem. And by ecosystem, I mean the two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and hopefully in some time buses as well. and of course the charging infrastructure that's associated with it. So really looking forward, and thank you once again for all of my private sector friends who are here and other government colleagues and friends who have taken the time to come for this event and scheduled it to sign these agreements on this important day. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We would now like to proceed with our panel discussion, and we have today a diverse group of experts on environment, health, and electric mobility, bringing together insights on the potential of clean transport, on the air pollution ailing our cities and its people. I would request Ms. Snigdha Verma, my colleagues at CSL and moderator for the event, to please introduce our panelists at this forum. And in the meanwhile, I would like to thank all of you for gracing this MOU partnership event and sparing the time on a Saturday evening. We wish you a healthy, safe, and full of wellness year ahead. Over to you, Snigdha.
Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you, everybody, for being with us at such a late hour on a Saturday. We appreciate your taking the time out today, and it's been a very busy day from what I can tell for all the members on the panel and people and my colleagues here. So thank you so much for joining us today. Let me start with setting the context for our discussion. As we all know, restoring environmental balance is an imperative at this late stage of climate change. But luckily, clean energy solutions have emerged as viable options, supported by policy incentives and unique business models, some of which we'll be discussing today. Electric mobility is rapidly emerging as a real and possible hope for air pollution that plagues our cities and a means to reduce greenhouse gases from the transport sector. On today's occasion, we are very pleased to welcome our panelists and audience who've joined online to discuss the potential of e-mobility in reducing air pollution and restoring planetary health. May I introduce our panelists now? I see Ms. Suraja Firodia Motwani is here. Thank you for joining. Ms. Motwani is a founder and CEO of Kinetic Green Energy and Power Solutions, a pioneer in electric vehicles in India, and the leading manufacturer of electric three-wheelers. She's also a graduate of Carnegie Mellon University, my alma mater as well. So I'm very happy to have you here. I'll also request my MD Mawa to share any perspectives you would like to share as we proceed here through the panel.
Sure, thank you. Once again, thank you and welcome to friends and colleagues that I had not seen at the previous session. Nazar, welcome. Very good to see you here. Sudhatra, so good to see you here. Let me just say that in the few months that I have taken on this company to build it out with my colleagues, I know that I've made my colleagues' life quite miserable. I've been making them work all day long. But I also know that I have badgered all of you all day long for months. And let me assure you and promise you it's only the beginning. I'm really happy that you're here. It's an important day for us to make a promising dent in electric mobility. We've just signed a number of agreements for some of you that were not here in the previous session. If it all goes well, we should have signed 40,000 two-wheelers. And I say if all goes well, unfortunately the government of Andhra Pradesh was not able to be here today because the counterpart is ill with COVID. We have reached an agreement to deploy two-wheelers. I'm really pleased that you're here and this panel has been put together. Snigdha has done a really good job in putting the panel together, so I really look forward to listening to your views on the sector, on the vision, and let's not forget on air pollution. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mawa. We also have with us Dr. Nazar Khalod. I noticed he was one of the first people to join us an hour ago, so I appreciate your joining us all the way from Washington. And it's early for you today on a Saturday, so thank you for joining us. So Mr. Khalod joins us from, thank you. We look forward to, in fact, learning about your research work on energy efficiency and clean transportation system, and you worked with emerging countries and specifically in India. So we're looking forward to the findings of your research work in the perspective of clean transport. So thank you for joining us. And I also see Ms. Anumita Roy Chaudhary. Could you please confirm if you've been able to join us, Ms. Chaudhary? Okay, while we wait for her, let me introduce Apurva, who's been with us since the previous session. Apurva, thank you for joining us. She is a senior clean energy specialist at USAID's Spark program in India and is currently leading initiatives in smart grid distribution reforms and energy efficiency portfolio as part of the USAID's Clean Energy program. So thank you so much for joining us. We started a little early, so we shall let's move on with our panel while we wait for the other panelists to join. So Ms. Nutwani, shall we start with you?
Absolutely.
So Ms. Nutwani, we're entering into a partnership on garbage collection with electric vehicles. This is the beginning of a very important category in terms of electric mobility for public services. And we'd be very, very interested to hear your perspectives on the sort of business models that you see coming out in this new field and how, and what is your vision for green mobility in the coming years?
Great. Well, thanks a lot. First of all, a very happy World Environment Day to all of you. And I would also like to thank the Honorable Minister of Power of Goa for his support to the cause of green mobility and a greener environment. Thank you, sir. And congratulations to the team ESL and CESL led by Saurabh Kumarji and Mahua Acharyaji. I want to thank you for the amazing work you are doing. We really need, believers like you with a lot of energy, passion, and commitment to this cause to really take India ahead as a leader in green mobility. So once again, I want to thank you for the effort you're making. In the few months that we have worked together, as Mahua mentioned, she has been working very closely with so many stakeholders in the industry. I must compliment her for her passion and her call to action at all times. So I wish that she and her team, and led by Saurabh Kumarji, are really able to realize, all the wonderful initiatives that have been kicked off today. And congratulations again, and best wishes on all the MOUs that have been signed. And whatever we can do as Kinetic to support in speedy implementation of these, we would be very happy to do. Either as a partner in some of them or just as a support or as a sounding board, feel free to please reach out to us anytime. We would be very happy to go out of our way to support everything that you're doing. Now, coming to today's panel discussion, we're very proud of our partnership with CESL, which is just the beginning, as you mentioned, of really being able to make a big difference to the Indian society and to the cause of green mobility. I think on this World Environment Day, we must say that using one electric vehicle is like planting 100 trees. So if you're able to put millions of electric vehicles on the roads, it's like planting billions of trees. And vehicular emissions are one of the largest causes of pollution. So I think electric vehicles in our crowded cities will make a big difference to improving the environment and to leaving a greener planet for our future generations. Towards this, I think our Indian government has shown us the way that because India has its own unique transport sector, it will not be cars like in USA, but it will be the two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and the buses, which will lead the way for electrification. And that makes a lot of sense to me because it is our common Indian man, the masses, who are suffering from very high fuel bills. And if we are able to bring light mobility, electric mobility to them, I think it will lead to not only greener environment, but much lower transport costs for all of them. So this is the right way, and we are committed to this cause. At Kinetic Green, we are committed to light mobility. We are leading makers of electric three-wheelers, as was mentioned, both in passenger as well as cargo solutions. Both low speed as well as higher speed and larger vehicles is what we specialize in. And also we have launched a range of electric two-wheelers, starting with electric scooters, and very soon we are bringing an electric Luna or a delivery vehicle designed for simple and affordable electric logistics. We believe in Make in India with almost 100% local supply chain, and we have a government certified R&D center. So we would like to bring all this, our commitment, our passion, our technical expertise, our focus on Make in India to contribute to your goals. Now, we believe that waste management is one of the largest opportunities to bring electric vehicles to the Indian consumers. I think we are at the stage today where we need to create many use cases and showcase the benefits of e-mobility. And because the retail customer is not always, let's say, is more risk averse, they would like to buy vehicles once they have seen many vehicles on the road. In India, jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai. So once people see many more electric vehicles, they will become more familiar and more comfortable with them. So it would be up to us as policymakers, as leaders, to create the initial population of vehicles and bring it closer to the customers. So waste management is one such great opportunity where vehicles are coming to people's homes every day to collect the waste. So many citizens will be able to really see the vehicles and interact, with the drivers to understand the benefits of e-mobility. Secondly, I think from the point of view of our municipal corporations, whether it's small or large, it's a large expense head. Waste management is a large expense head for them. And we have seen in our research that the corporations are either using, let's say, ghanta gadi or non-mechanized form of waste management, which is very high on manual labor, menial labor, which needs to go. We need to give our rack pickers more convenient, more comfortable ways of moving and collecting waste. Or they're using diesel vehicles, which are leading to pollution, sound emissions early in the morning, and also very high cost of transport running. I think my estimate is that the payments to contractors range between 5 to 15 rupees a kilometer for collecting waste using diesel vehicles, which is very high. In contrast, if electric three-wheelers are deployed for waste management, we can use smaller vehicles in smaller towns or in a smaller cluster at a very affordable price. Even lady rack pickers can be trained to use these small electric three-wheelers. We can collect waste at the point with segregation at the point of collection itself. Waste management can be silent, it can be green, and it can happen at early morning without absolutely disturbing the localities. In larger cities, we can deploy the larger electric three-wheelers, which have about 500 kgs of payload or 1 ton GVW, and these can go longer distances and collect waste from larger neighborhoods. So this is very much possible, and the running cost of these vehicles would be hardly 50 paisa per kilometer. So the savings to the corporations would be humongous. And also we have seen that India has now become 100% self-reliant on electricity. So fuel pumps may not be available in villages, but electricity is. So I believe that not only in larger cities, but in smaller cities as well as in villages, we can deploy these electric vehicles. As we have made a beginning with CSL today in Pune, we would like that many other corporations see the benefits of such partnerships. If CSL comes forward as an aggregator, it will lead to savings for the corporation on the upfront investments. And they can focus on then, finding the best deployment models. So I think that would be a great support by the central government or by your organization to bringing these vehicles, into use, and then it will just build from there. I want to give a couple of other examples of similar deployments Kinetic has done. We have recently deployed almost 1,000 electric three-wheelers in the city of Chennai for this waste management, where lady rack pickers are using our electric three-wheelers to collect segregated waste door to door. And this has been successfully done. There are 10 depots which have been formed. We have partnered with Ramki as a large waste concessionaire who are deploying and running these depots and the waste management operations. And I think the results have been fantastic. We have also given about 3,000 vehicles in Andhra Pradesh under a similar partnership with APSCST Corporation, where the youth from APSCST background were given these vehicles, and one unemployed youth was given one vehicle to be deployed in a village. So one vehicle per village. And he was then being paid by the Gram Panchayat to do the daily rounds for waste management. So we achieved green environment, mechanized waste management, and livelihood. All three sort of came together. In addition, we have done many smaller, municipal corporations. We have given vehicles, but I do believe that a larger scale partnership with CESL, where we can work with the larger corporations, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune, Indore, Bhopal, we can really bring great benefits to the society and to the corporations as well. So we would be happy to work very closely with you to electrify and green up the waste management operations. Two more points I want to quickly make. I also believe that the other great opportunity that we can partner together is on livelihoods. I think in the post-COVID world, many people have lost their livelihoods. And electric vehicles can be great means of very profitable livelihoods for the bottom of the pyramid. If you use an electric two-wheeler for delivery operations, you make the same amount of earning, but the running cost is much lower because there is no fuel involved. So we can provide employment to our unemployed youth to become delivery partners for so many e-commerce companies. Similarly, we can provide electric three-wheelers for passenger operations or delivery operations to, again, so many unemployed people who may need new support for livelihoods. We would be happy to partner with you on such livelihood schemes as well. We have done one large scheme like this in Uttar Pradesh, where we had given almost 10,000 vehicles few years ago to cycle rickshaw pullers as a means of more dignified livelihood. And it was successfully implemented along with charging infrastructure and service stations that we came and created. So together we can work for creating of the ecosystem as well, and not just vehicle population. And last but not the least, there's a great opportunity for electrification of last mile logistics, deploying electric 2 and 3 wheelers for e-commerce deliveries, food deliveries, gas cylinder distribution, partnering with HPCL, BPCL and the like, which can again bring many more vehicles on the road and lead to beginning of a great momentum for electric vehicle deployment. So we, just as you, are committed to this cause, and once again assure of all our support to you, and would be happy to work very closely on creation of this wonderful transformation of India's transport sector. Thank you very much, and wishing you again a great World Environment Day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Would you like to add anything?
No, go ahead.
No, thank you so much. And
My pen.
thank you so much, and really appreciate your perspective on electric mobility as an agent for social change, especially for rack pickers, bringing in the gender balance aspect. I think it's a great thought, and your research on the financial model, making this a viable option, I think is something that's worth consideration, and explore, and shows the potential, the feasibility for electric mobility. I'll now thank you so much. I'll now move on to Mr. Kolod. You and your team at PNL have worked extensively in setting energy standards in emerging countries, Mr. Kolod. I wanted to ask you, what are your perspectives on the policy options for encouraging clean transportation systems in India towards reducing emissions? Is there any precedence or case study that you can share with us today? I'm sorry, I think you're on mute. Sorry, Mr. Kolod, you're still on mute. Is it muted from our end?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Hello? Great, thank you. Sorry for that. Thank you for inviting me today. It's a great honor to be here. My name is Nazar Holod, and I'm a scientist at Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. Greetings from Washington, D.C. So PNNL has been collaborating with the Indian government and the Indian research institutes to enhance India's modeling capacity. And modeling activities are performed under the sustainable growth pillar of the US-India strategic energy partnership. Niti Aayog and USAID coordinate these modeling activities. So PNNL collaborated with 4 Indian energy modeling teams on transportation studies. And these teams include CSTEP, CEW, IRADA, and TERI. The teams modeled several policy scenarios, including electrification of passenger fleet. And this transportation study has led to the Indian Energy Modeling Forum. So in the electrification scenario, teams model it 3 paths: reference, new policy, and high ambitions. So in a high ambitions scenario, we assume that current policy targets set by the government are exceeded. So we assume in the high ambition scenario that by 2050, sales of electric vehicles would be, let's say, 80% for two-wheelers. So 3 years ago, when we modeled this study, high ambition scenario indeed looked ambitious. It is not so ambitious today. With the adoption, for example, with the adoption of the FAME2 scheme, the goal for New Delhi is to have 25 electric vehicles on vehicle registration by 2024. So the first conclusion from the study is that the situation has been evolving really fast, and it is really important for electric vehicle producers, the government, the different ministries, and the research community to collaborate together to have a realistic baseline to inform policy making in India. So the Indian Energy Modeling Forum is working in this direction, and it is great that we were able to help with this. So when we work on electrification scenarios, it's important to also to have realistic or plausible policy scenarios. So, for example, what energy company Shell assumes now that for 2 and 3 wheelers that they should be completely electric by 2030, and the sale of cars should be restricted to only electric vehicles by the same time period. So this is the big task for the Indian Energy Modeling Forum, the Indian government, and so we really appreciate support from Indian ministries and Niti Aayog and USAID. So the second big conclusion from the study, and also from several other studies, and I was pleased to hear this today, this is pollution reduction. So the whole point of the electrification of transport, including both passenger and freight transport, is to reduce pollution, and especially in big cities. And reduction of fine particulate matter, ppm emissions, is absolutely critical. So, however, while pipe tail emissions from electric vehicles are zero, we have additional emissions from the power sector to generate additional electricity for electric vehicles. And with the current situation, when coal is dominate the energy mix in the power sector, this is important also to pay attention to greening the grid. It's also great that India is moving in the right direction by promoting clean energy. So this both on the supply side of the equation. Our results show that we may have additional 10% of CO2 emissions if we stay with the current energy mix. So that's really important to make the power sector greener, to fully gain the benefits of electrification. So there are many successful examples of greening the grid to achieve full benefits of electrification of transport. And then the third conclusion from the study is that the one aspect that we actually didn't model, but which is important for successful electrification, is the charging infrastructure. Just one example. A recent study in California showed that state needs to build over 1.5 million charging stations by 2030. And so currently some dissatisfaction with charging infrastructure is growing in the state. A recent study by the University of California shows that nearly 18% of electric car owners in California return to gas vehicles, just because of the restriction with the charging infrastructure. When we talk about hybrid vehicles, it's about 20% of car owners moved from their hybrid vehicles back to gas vehicles. This is this just an example to show the critical importance on infrastructure. And I was really pleased to hear all initiatives that India has been developing to promote infrastructure. It is not just enough to have electric vehicles, but also to make sure that we have places to charge them. So the conclusion would be that we really need to keep in mind not only trends in electric vehicle penetration, but also as a factors. And then finally, probably the last not least things that I heard today was that it's important to promote also scrapping programs in India. So what we modeled is that travel demand both for passenger and freight vehicles will grow many-fold in India. The Indian economy is growing so fast that it will require a lot of vehicles. So when we promote electric vehicles, it's also very important to make sure that the old dirty vehicles are taken out of use. So we will look at the examples of several other developing countries. And in some countries, vehicles that participated in the scrapping programs appeared again on the market. And so the India should be absolutely sure that all dirty vehicles are recycled, are destroyed. And because with the growing transportation demand, there is a high risk that they can appear somewhere else. And then we would not benefit from electrification of that much. So this is kind of several broad conclusions from our study, our experience. And I'm really pleased, I'm really happy to hear about all initiatives that the Indian organizations, Indian government, NGOs, producer of electric vehicles and infrastructure are taking right now in India. So this for the benefit of not only India, but like for greater good. I'm really happy to be here today, and thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you so much for the very in-depth insights that you shared with us. Definitely, I've learned quite a lot today in terms of the risks of 10% carbon dioxide presence, and what you said about the charging infrastructure, that the lack of access to it in California made many of the users switch back to fuel-based transportation. I think those are things that we in India and at CSL, it would be very important for us to keep that perspective in mind. So thank you for sharing that. I see now that Randhir Singh has joined from Niti Aayog, so let me briefly introduce him as well. So Randhir joins us from the National Mission on Transformative Mobility and Battery Storage that is housed at Niti Aayog. He also represents Niti Aayog in EV Infrastructure Standards Committee at BIS. He's a senior specialist and has been part of the Niti Aayog on a variety of publications and research work. Randhir, very happy to have you here and much looking forward to your thoughts on electric mobility and battery storage systems. If I may start with asking you a question on on Niti Aayog's perspective on taking the lead in promoting electric mobility in India, and what you think are the and we understand that Niti Aayog has done quite a number of initiatives in terms of creating subsidies and creating financial models to make EV sustainable. And it would be great if you could share some of those initiatives with us and what they have to offer for the states and the implementing parties.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here. So maybe what I'll do is first I'll like to introduce you to some of the works which NITI is doing or the National Mission for Transformative Mobility and Battery Storage is doing currently. And then maybe I'll move on to the two parts specifically targeting your questions. One is on the subsidy part and the other one on the what states are doing from the EV accelerator perspective. So in the first part, wherein I just want to touch upon the few things which Niti is doing currently is. So uh, first is last month, in fact, in April, along with the 40 industry players from the different domains, right from the infrastructure, right from the OEMs and all, we actually launched one of the campaign, which is even the name of the campaign is selected by the Shunya campaign. This is mainly targeted to the end mile delivery, and it includes the Flipkart, Swiggy, and all those people. So I'll talk more about this campaign also, which is actually chosen by the industry, and there are non-fiscal incentives we have built in this campaign, which is going to run for the next for the complete 1 year. Next is the EV accelerator program. This accelerator program is basically to support the states in framing as well as fine tuning their EV policies. So there are three different segments within this. One segment is for the states who have already launched their policies like Karnataka and Maharashtra, and they want to now fine tune their policies after 3 years or 4 years of their launch. Second is for those states who have actually drafted their policy but not yet launched or not yet notified, and they need our support to finalize these policies and fine tune them. Third is those states and union territories who have not yet started working on the EV policies. So I'll talk more about this. Next is the EV standards work. So to somebody was talking about the EV infrastructure and the range anxiety thing. So India is actually a totally different market than the Western world and the other countries. So in our country, the main focus, and in fact, 84% of the total vehicles is two-wheelers and three-wheelers. And to be very specific, 81% is two-wheelers and 3% is three-wheelers. So ours is primarily a two-wheeler market. And if we talk about how many kilometers per day these vehicles run, it comes on a steady basis on an average 16 to 17 kilometers. So so basically these vehicles, and right now whatever two-wheelers in electric EV segment is available, they run mostly for 40 plus kilometers, and in fact at the high end even the 80 plus kilometers like Ether and others. So these vehicles shouldn't be with these vehicles we shouldn't be worried about the range anxiety, because these can be charged overnight at home or even at the panwalas or but from the government perspective and the BIS standardization perspective, what we have done is on 12th of May we have already notified the provisional two-wheel light EV AC charging infrastructure standard already has been notified, and within 2 months after the comments which has been sought from the industry, which has been sought from the other players, this would be made as a first standard, and it would be first of its kind because two-wheeler and three-wheeler light EVC charging standard doesn't exist in other parts of the world. So this will actually help us for the better utilization of the assets. Plus what we have done is from the EVSE perspective, that means the electric vehicle supply equipment, we have also worked with the ARA and rationalized the cost of the equipment. So in India, we need not to focus on the costly 2 crore, 3 crore worth of the charging stations. In fact, our focus should be on the charging points. So this EV charging point, what we have done is the cost, we have brought down the cost after working with the ARA and testing it around 3,200 rupees. In fact, it is there in the notification also. Next part is we already started working on this, the ONO, that is One Nation, One Card integration. So we want to integrate the charging, whatever charging is happening right now with different players. In fact, the EESL is one of them. And so what we want to do is right from the beginning, this One Nation, One Card should have the provision that wherever they go, this charging can be done using this card. And we want to integrate it with all of them. So we are already in talks with the NPCI regarding. Third thing which we are doing is that we are launching with the help of the British High Commission and the TERI one portal wherein the comparison between the EV versus EV on the total cost of ownership, as well as what is going to be the impact from the environmental perspective, how much CO2 over the lifetime, well to wheel emissions are going to happen. All this would be shown on this. This portal is already ready and we are going to launch it soon, maybe by the end of this month itself. Next part, what we are doing is a manual for the EV charging infrastructure. So what happens is there are several guidelines, like Ministry of Power, Niti Aayog recommends something, one portion, then MORTH recommends something, DST recommends something, and then all these things together doesn't are not available, first of all. And second thing is people at the ground level, that is municipality level and all, whenever somebody approaches them to set up the the charging infrastructure, the charging point, they have no clue what all things they should check with them, what all things they should with them they should guide to these guys. So we are creating a holistic manual for the EV charging infrastructure. This would also be launched by the end of this month. Last 1.5 months, the main focus was on this COVID task force thing. In fact, I was also the part of the COVID task force. So these things were held up for some time, but now again, since the we have catched up with in terms of that infrastructure, so these things will be on track. And the most important one initiative is the urban mining. So you know in our country, we not only lacks the main minerals, need lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt, but we also lacks the processing of these. So currently, if we talk about say graphitization or the anode manufacturing, 100% of the processing that happens in the China. In fact, other countries are also dependent upon the China for the processing of these plants. So with the launch of one of the factory by the Epsilon Carbon, I think this is something which would be addressed in next 4 to 5 years. But currently, we have to actually focus on the urban mining. And so there is already one committee which has formed. And in fact, by the next week, they are going to submit their recommendations also. So it includes all the industry players together so that the whatever goes out should come back again into the system. So this is very, very important part. Now I'll move one step back, in fact, to talk about the subsidy programs. So the FAME 1, which was launched back in 2017. So during the FAME 1, there were a total sales of 171,000 vehicles in two-wheeler segment has happened. In the three-wheeler segment, around 2,900 vehicles. And the four-wheelers were around 106,000 vehicles because the hybrid were also part of that. So total of 280,000 vehicles were sold during the FAME 1. In the FAME 2, there were some tightening of, the local manufacturing content should be there and all those things. It was launched by the October of the 2019, and by March of 2020, the pandemic effect took over, and this couldn't fly that much. So currently, we are working on the remodeling of the FAME 2, and soon you will see that the subsidy structure, current subsidy structure of around 10,000 rupees per kilowatt hour for the two-wheeler, which is this also we are working on the revising so that it becomes more realistic, and so the total cost of ownership from the capex perspective between the IC vehicles and the two-wheeler vehicles, that reduces, because currently for these two-wheeler and three-wheeler segment, people doesn't look at the total cost of ownership mostly, and they want to know, okay, what is the upfront cost. So in fact, with the subsidy, the remodeling and the balancing act, we are thinking that this could be balanced out and it will have a trickle down effect. So this is something which we are planning to do. And of course, the focus remains on the two-wheelers and the three-wheelers, and finally the buses. This is what is the focus of the government currently. And yeah, for the for the FAME 1 and FAME 1, which has already been completed, and the FAME 2. With the launch of the PLI, that Advanced Chemistry Cell Program, so this actually covers the entire value chain. So Advanced Chemistry Cell Program comprises of two components. First component is the 50 gigawatt hour gigafactory, and the second component of the niche segment, which is the 5 gigawatt hour factory. Total outlays INR 18,100 crores over the period of the 5 years. That is what the program is going to run. So this will, and it's a sales link, so that once whatever sale is happening, on that sale only the manufacturer is going to get this subsidy. So the first part is on the demand side, and this part is for the manufacturing of the for the battery cells. So currently, there is almost nil lithium-ion battery manufacturing in our country, and what we are targeting is that the global champions could be created with the launch of this 50 gigawatt hour program. And we are moving very fast, and within few days, you will see the final, the documents which will come out in the public domain. Already, the first set of documents are available on the NITI Aayog's website, the model concession agreements and all those things, and those can be accessed. I'll quickly touch upon two, three things of this program. One is the total capacity is 50 gigawatt hour, which is being targeted. One uh, bidder can port from 5 gigawatt hour to the 20 gigawatt hour. And what we are encouraging is the forming of the consortiums. So not one player, if one player doesn't have that much capacity or the financial outlay, because there is minimum requirement that minimum 225 crores per gigawatt hour has to be deployed by the bidder. So what we are saying that let bidders form the consortiums, and anybody who has more than 26% of the stake in that consortium, we are going to look at the documents of that particular bidder only, not the others. So the other financial requirements like the ICRA ratings and all, those has to be fulfilled by that main the majority holder of that particular consortium. So that would also give the chances to the other the players who are not that big, but they can form the consortiums and bid for this program. Next, what I will touch upon is about the EV accelerator program. So why I want to touch upon more about this EV accelerator program is states have a big say in this particular sector. So until and unless states launches their own policies, states encourages over and above what central government is doing, it would be very difficult for this EV transformation to take off, this green mobility transformation to take off. So we launched the EV accelerator program, and initially we selected three states: Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Himachal Pradesh. So for the Karnataka, we have done the consultations with them, and we have already revised their policies. Uh, if this COVID has not, I mean, this again, the peak would not have started, then they would have launched their revised policy also. Nevertheless, in this coming months and maybe by the next month or so, the revised policy from the Karnataka you will see, and there are a lot of changes and a lot of you know uh, different sectors and different segments within this policy would be covered from the subsidy perspective. Next is the Maharashtra. This is also a pioneer in the EV adoption. And 2018, this EV policy was launched. So we have already completed the recommendations for them also, and it is already circulated for the consultation. Next is the Himachal Pradesh, the status that they have already accepted our draft recommendations, and the stakeholder consultations are going on. So maybe soon Himachal Pradesh will also launch their EV policy. And other ones are the Sikkim, Andaman, and Dadra and Nagar Haveli. So we have recently started working with them also. These are the lighthouse states, and after that we will set the guidelines, and also that the other states could be covered immediately. I think with this, I will rest, but just one more point about the TCO thing. So we did the TCO analysis, and what we found is, so EV without incentive, if we talk about in the two-wheeler segment, so if it runs around the 3 rupees per kilometer and with incentives around 2.3 rupees per kilometer. So it is already at par with the incentive in terms of the TCO analysis. So two-wheeler segment and three-wheeler segment with incentive is already at par with the IC vehicles. Of course, the four-wheeler and the buses, we have to work more. So I think that's it from my end. Thank you, Snigdha.
Thank you so much, Randy. Really appreciate your detailed insights on the various policy initiatives that are being introduced by Niti Aayog. Of course, Niti has been at the forefront of bringing electric mobility into the country. So it's great to know that there are discussions happening on on bringing financial making capex, reducing capex for electric vehicles, creating financial models that make electric mobility more feasible and financially feasible option. So very, very excited to hear about that, and also the fact how Niti Aayog is supporting the development of the entire ecosystem, encouraging manufacturing of lithium-ion batteries within India. I think these are all great initiatives, and we are definitely looking forward to participating in these initiatives. So thank you so much to you, Randir, and to Mr. Sinha for having us, for having recommending you to join us today. Thank you so much. I just wanted to check if Ms. Roy Chaudhary is with us. Okay. So let me let me bring Apurva into the discussion now. Apurva, we've of course been, as co-organizers of today's program, we've been in conversations, and in this panel, I wanted to ask you about the various initiatives of on electric mobility that the USAID Spark program has been undertaking in the last few years. Today's event and the discussions we've had and the announcements we've made clearly show that the two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and infrastructure to bring them at scale is definitely the focus now. The thrust is that's where the thrust seems to be. So, what are USAID's plans now for EVs, for air pollution, and for mitigating climate change?
So thank you, Snigdha, and thank you, Mahua, for having me here and our partnership on this event, but more importantly, our partnership in the e-mobility space as a whole. And going forward, we also look forward to a partnership on a range of clean energy technologies and solutions, which CSL has a mandate for. So before I just go on to answer your question, Snigdha, just wanted to, of course, wish everyone a happy World Environment Day, which has a theme of ecosystem restoration. Although we cannot turn back the clock and fix the past, but I think we all can make sure that our future is green, clean, and sustainable. And therefore, I think electric vehicles or e-mobility as a subject is one of the key areas to work in and to progress in. And I'm very happy that ESL has set up CSL, to take forward the agenda of e-mobility in a fast track mode in the country. And USAID is very, very pleased to partner with CSL on their e-mobility initiative. Just to go back a little last year when the COVID pandemic hit us, and there was a national-wide lockdown that was imposed in India. Just in a couple of days, we saw the quality of the air quality really improving to almost 50% in just 4 days of commencing the lockdown starting. And it also led to a significant reduction in the PM levels to almost again 50%. So this kind of proved, which everyone was saying, that transport is a key sector which contributes to the air quality deterioration. And but at the same time, it's not as if we can stop using vehicles. In fact, today most of the motorized vehicles in India are fueled by petrol, diesel, or natural gas. And all these are a key source of air pollution due to the exhaust emissions. And the numbers tell the story. The road transport sector accounts for nearly 87% of the total transport emissions in India. And we all know it's no brainer that air pollution, of course, causes severe health impact, leading to, substantial number of deaths in the country every year. And with rapid urbanization, it's not going to change. The scenario is not going to change. There will be more vehicles added every year on the road. So what's the alternate? Obviously, electric vehicles. They present a very viable alternate in addressing these challenges and ensuring environmental sustainability. But at the moment, EVs are less than 1% of the total vehicle sales in India. But that's where the challenge is, but that's also where the opportunity lies. The good news is that we can all feel the wave of change. Government of India, along with the state governments, have already rolled out several initiatives. We saw several MOUs being signed by the state government, by the municipalities, with CSL, which are all going to accelerate the uptake of EVs. Yeah, of course, government has also set up an aggressive target of 25% EV adoption by 2030. So we are all on that way of pushing the pedal on e-mobility across the country. But a strong foundation is required to scale up the EV market. At present, high upfront cost, limited EV models, and lack of public charging infrastructure are limiting the large-scale adoption of EVs in India. I would also like to add that lack of awareness in the consumers is a key stumbling block too. There are so many myths and misconceptions about EVs. For instance, will my car run out of charge in the middle of my commute? Can I take a 100-kilometer or a 200-kilometer highway drive with the electric vehicle? Will there be enough number of charging stations if my battery runs out? I'm very pleased to share that with that USA, through its bilateral Smart Power for Advancing Reliability and Connectivity, what we call as the SPARK program, has been working very closely with the Ministry of Power and ESL and now CESL to establish an enabling environment for electric vehicles in India. The program actually builds on some previous USA and India energy initiatives, and this one focuses on power distribution utilities along with accelerating the EV market in the country. The technical assistance provided to ESL range from designing effective deployment strategy for public charging stations to establishing partnerships with cab aggregators and utilities to developing state-specific business models for electric vehicles. The USA Spark ESL collaboration has built a strong knowledge capital in terms of location assessment frameworks, analytics, standard tools, and templates. And all these key learnings have been synthesized into a practitioner's guide for deployment of public charging stations for EVs. And that was released in 2019 by the secretaries and the joint secretaries of 6 South Asian countries. I'm happy. So now the USA Spark program has now partnered with CSL to design a scalable and replicable digital platform-based model for EV deployment in states. A key highlight of this model is that it reduces the upfront cost of EVs by incorporating state subsidies and making EVs available on lease to the end consumer. The model has been adapted for supplying electric vehicles to the government staff on lease as well as to retail customers on lease or outright purchase. We are also working with CSL on developing comprehensive financial models on total cost of ownership for electric two and four-wheelers. This will help in analyzing the cost of ownership, profitability, and payback period for EVs in comparison to a conventional vehicle. So these are some of the initiatives that we are taking with CSL under our existing USAID program, but that's not where our partnership just limits. Energy continues to be a centerpiece of US-India bilateral cooperation. In fact, just to touch upon the question that you said plans to and the e-mobility space, just this April in 2021, President Biden and Prime Minister Modi launched a new Climate and Clean Energy Agenda 2030 partnership to help mobilize investments, demonstrate clean energy technologies, and enable green collaboration. So this is going to actually now USAID is gearing up to not only work in the clean energy space, but also to look at not only clean energy technologies, of which EVs is a very important, significant part, but would also look at the whole system from a climate change perspective. And EVs fit the bill. So USA does see a lot of work coming the way as far as electric mobility is concerned. We also have just launched this month a regional program called the South Asia Regional Energy Partnership, as we call it SARIP in briefly, where we are focusing on strengthening the energy security of South Asian countries, including Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, and Maldives, and Sri Lanka. EVs will be a key focal component of this program too. So there are a lot of opportunities of working on electric vehicles with CSL and with other stakeholders as the country gears up to really push the accelerator on e-mobility. And we strongly believe that the experience that ESL and CSL now has in the e-mobility space will be very, very useful and critical as the other countries in the South Asian arena, they embark on their e-mobility journey. So India is far ahead in the curve. From our consultations with our South Asian counterparts, we have seen a lot of demand for e-vehicle kind of assistance. They look forward to Indian learnings. They look forward even to ESL as an outfit to be delivering this as a service, product, whatever, to their countries as well. So we are very happy. I think there is a lot of strong foundation that's already been laid between USA and ESL in the last decade or so on several fronts, including the building efficiency program, including the electric mobility program, smart meters, air conditioning program, chillers. So I think there is scope for expanding this partnership with CSL. Already we can see that within 1 year, I mean, as was witnessed today with the number of MOUs that you signed and many in the past, you are really, really accelerating this whole push around not only electric vehicles, but decentralized renewable solutions and so on and so forth. It's a very active outfit with great leadership in the form of Saurabh and Mahua. And I'm sure in times to come, we are already in a process of signing a partnership agreement with the CSL, which will not only include e-mobility, but also the other areas of battery storage, decentralized solutions, as well as carbon trade, whatever that CSL is working on. So we really look forward to that partnership, and I congratulate CSL once again on their, very, very aggressive and initiatives to accelerate India's e-mobility journey. Thank you. Over
Thank
to
you
you,
so
Nick.
Thank you so much for your perspectives. We are definitely very excited about the US administration's new regained focus on climate change and the various initiatives that the administration is taking up. We're definitely very excited, and thank you for sharing the efforts towards electric mobility in the global south. I'm sure there will be opportunities for us to collaborate on those. Thank you so much. Last but not the least, I see that Dr. Roy Chaudhary has joined us. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me briefly introduce Ms. Roy Chaudhary to the other panelists. She's the Executive Director, Research and Advocacy at the Center for Science and Environment. Today, we look forward to hearing your perspectives, Ms. Roy Chaudhary, on the health risks of air pollution and the potential for for e-mobility to address this challenge. And I wanted to hear from you, since you have so many decades of experience and research work in this, wanted you to share some of the changes that were witnessed when CNG was introduced, for example, in Delhi, and how that led to positive impact on air pollution and addressing air pollution. So if you could share with us a narrative and the history. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Snigdha, and good to see you, Mahua, here. We were earlier in another meeting earlier. So absolutely delighted to be here to share our experience and our insight. So let me begin by, the whole context of air pollution, because we want to understand electric mobility within the context of air pollution. And especially after the pandemic and all the experience of the blue sky, so artificially achieved by shutting down the economy, which is really not the answer. And therefore, we are looking forward to more systemic, more deep-rooted, transformational changes. And electric mobility actually presents that opportunity to us. So what is the air pollution context of this? Overall, we know that big killer of these estimates. Not only that, that it kills, but it's more scary to know that the largest number of children below the age of 5, infants, and even fetus in womb, even they are affected by air pollution, and that number is very, very big. This clearly points towards a public health emergency. And we are continuously looking for solution that will help us to leapfrog and which is going to give us the clean emission benefit. Within that, so even though air pollution overall, ambient air quality overall is a larger public health issue, but within that, because we are discussing electric mobility in particular, I want to focus a little bit on the transport sector related emissions. That why within the larger context of air pollution, vehicles pose a special challenge. Now, this is because if any one of you have read this report from our health ministry, they made a very interesting distinction in the year 2015 where they said that we need exposure and quality which we need to fix. But your depends on your exposure or your proximity to the and we are either driving or on roads to the roads. The US-based Health Effect Institute has actually that about 55% of Delhi's population live within 500 meters from some roadside, and that is the maximum impact of vehicular pollution. In addition to that, we have also seen the data coming from the estimates of the International Clean Transportation, where they have shown that vehicular pollution is responsible for nearly half of the premature deaths from the transport sector emission worldwide. And Delhi ranks 6th among 100 urban centers for transport emission related deaths. So you can imagine what it really means within the larger air pollution context, that why vehicular pollution is a particular challenge. And now even in India, we have several pollution studies looking at the occupationally exposed group like traffic policemen, taxi drivers, even children, showing the effect of pollution on health. So that's the it kind of sets the agenda and the urgency for that why we really need to see transformational changes in the vehicular pollution sector. Therefore, if you look at Delhi from that perspective and the Delhi's own battle to control air pollution now for over 20 years, first generation action in Delhi that happened during 2000, 2002, that was that big shift that we saw from the towards natural gas. And one of the reasons why CNG happened was because the IC engine, the internal combustion engine on diesel and petrol, the emission standards were really lagging behind. We were just at about Euro 0 or Euro 1 level. That's when the decision was taken that by substituting the fuel, we can make a leapfrog change. But what we need to learn from that experience, and if we have to draw a lesson for electric mobility now, that the reason why CNG program in Delhi then was successful, it was because of the way the program was designed. The program came with a very clear mandate and backed by, it had a legal mandate because it also came from the Supreme Court, and it also had a target. Very clearly, the directive had said that all buses, all auto rickshaws, all taxis, and subsequently the local commercial vehicles will move to CNG by a certain date. And accordingly, they had also planned the infrastructure. It was a new fuel, so we had to put in place the refueling centers for it. So keeping in mind the number of vehicles, it was said right up front that Delhi needs to begin with at least 80 CNG stations. And then, of course, the process started, it was done, but the lesson from here is that if we want to bring in a new alternative, a new generation technology, which cannot easily compete with the mainstream technology, then market development requires the legal and regulatory backing. And that's the biggest. And with that, of course, we were able to stabilize pollution problem. And since then, we have come a long way today. So to bring us up to speed today, what we now need to understand that Delhi's strategy, but because we pushed CNG, that also put pressure on the other IC engines to improve. Yes, the Bharat State 6 emission standards, and today Delhi has got both. It has got CNG and it has also got the BS6 emission standards and BS6 fuel for diesel and petrol. Now the question is that how do we understand this crossroad? And therefore, what is the next technology and the mobility transformation that we are looking for? And it's already there. And that's why we need to inform this process well. Now, because Delhi has already made this transition, so it has been so much easier as process to now for the Delhi government to come up with electric vehicle policy for the city. And this book will also inform the national level policy. So that by 5% electrification. Now, that's exactly what should happen, like we had a CNG target. But what is more important now, that the pathway to that 25%, the milestones, the infrastructure, incentive structure, capital subsidy systems, creation of the market, consumer outreach, that all these pieces in the jigsaw, they all have to come together. But that's where now we are for Delhi, but for the entire country, because we all want to see that transformational change, keeping in mind that we cannot transform it further. Keep in mind the global change as well. Today, 17 countries have said by 2040 they want to phase out their IC engines completely. Imagine the transformative change in the global market, that when we move from petrol economy to electric economy, our industry cannot remain insular and isolated from that trend. So what is it that, so very quickly I'll just flag off that what is holding it back, why we are not getting there quickly enough. And that's something is bothering us, because even though India has started the incentive program, we have FAME 1, FAME 2 now, FAME 2, a better version of FAME 1. But clearly, what is happening is that the last decade, when we had set a target of 6 to 7 million vehicles by 2020, that really hasn't taken off. And today, when we have only heard about the policy intent of 30% electrification by 2030, the ground reality is, and if you look at the Vahan database of the Ministry of Road Transport, the electric vehicles are 0.4% of the new vehicle sales today. Now, how can we, from that 0.4%, become 30% by 2030? We are already in this decade. Now, some of the issues that we really have to address, therefore, very quickly. One, that just having an indifferent incentive program is not going to help. We need a holistic industrial policy to build the ecosystem for fast tracking the change. And we need just not these knee-jerk short-term things, because right now we don't even know what is the future of FAME 2. What is going to happen after that? And therefore, we are saying that we need long-term policy and plan for at least 15 to 20 years horizon. And that's exactly what other countries are doing, whether Europe, China, where they have looked into the, if starting from that whole upstream mining issue to midstream battery management to downstream, the production development and market development, all of that is getting planned and integrated for implementation. And there's a whole range of policies that have to come together very quickly. The second issue for us is that even though we are looking for a strong electric vehicle policy, but we must also understand how to leverage regulations for IC engine to move electric mobility. That's what other governments are doing. So today, if Europe is doing so well and much better than others on electric mobility, that's because they've really put the pressure and the high on IC engine by adopting very ambitious fuel economy standards, CO2 standards, and also real world emission regulations. So that's making IC engine technology so complex, so expensive, and that it is easier for the industry to meet their climate goals or pollution goals with electric mobility strategy. So we have to leverage that, and we are worried that today after pandemic, these regulations are facing a lot of pushback and they might get delayed, and which must not happen. Third one is, and that's very important, is that today post-pandemic, when our economy has slowed down and government is giving out economic recovery packages, it's very important that we should be able to link this economic recovery with green recovery. So the production linked incentive has come to build battery supply chain and etc. We have to see and how well it is leveraged. But more important, it has to be designed well. In fact, we already missed an opportunity when recently we got the scrappage policy, but it was not designed as a fiscal stimulus package linked with electrification. So globally, if you see today that all governments are taking fiscal action, giving economic recovery packages, is huge amount, almost 12% of the global GDP. But several governments have framed conditional and preferential measures to bail out packages to support the green measures, particularly. So to kind of summarize, I just want to end by saying that, this is an opportunity for us. And the sooner we push the electric mobility trajectory, not only it is going to reduce toxic exposure in cities, improve public health, improve energy security, decarbonize our transportation pathway, so many core benefits aligned with it. But even if I keep the environmental imperatives aside, even then it makes huge economic sense for the industry to really jump on this. Otherwise, it's a huge disadvantage to lose the market when the global market is transforming so fast. So therefore, I'll just end by saying that we really cannot afford to miss the bus. And there are a lot of learning from Delhi, from the CNG program, other best practices around the world, but let's do it very, very quickly. If we are losing the time already, but we cannot afford to do that. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ashwatri. Many very valuable perspectives that you've shared with us, and in terms of public health emergency that we are experiencing. I won't take too long, and I will open this for questions. I think you have a question. Would you like to ask?
Yes, please. Thanks, Snigdha. I have a follow-up question, and I was waiting for all of the panelists to give your views. So I think the Randir from Niti Aayog touched upon it a little bit. The central government has remodeled FAME right now, or is in the process of remodeling FAME. It is it's a subsidy-based package. Now we've done the math, and Sulaja, I'd really love to hear your views. We've done the math here on two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and we'll see where we come out on buses. Two things become clear. State policies are really the clincher, or at least as far as numbers are concerned, the one incentive system from the center will probably not be enough for now, because the objective is to bring that cost of acquisition down to at least comparable, if not cheaper, obviously, than the combustion engine. So from your point of view, what have you seen works best in as far as other state policies are concerned? Is it an upfront incentive? Is it interest rate subvention? Is it an incentive to bring back your old bike? If we were to advise states on their policies, which one would be the most catalytic?
Okay, so well, thanks for the question. I believe the following. I think that, as you rightly said, there is currently this sticker shock that still exists, where unless the battery prices come down to, let's say, 150 or 125 to $150 per kilowatt hour, an electric vehicle with battery is costing more than ICE vehicle. Of course, it's apples oranges, because when you're buying an EV, you're buying a vehicle with the fuel and comparing it to ICE, which is a vehicle without fuel. So though EV is cheaper on a TCO basis, but there is an upfront sticker shock, and consumers are not willing to pay that premium right now because the technology is new and so on and so forth. And TCO is also discovered later. So we need to create some short-term support to make EVs more affordable, though it's apples and oranges, to initially create the population. My belief here is that I think that the central government, or FAME, is a well-designed, well-established scheme. And I feel that against the budget of 10,000 crores, very little has been utilized. Further, there was a slowdown due to COVID, where everybody kind of, there was a shutdown of businesses, and everybody kind of went on, a different, more protection kind of a mode. So I feel that right now, central government can do a little bit more by way, in fact, of enhancing the slab of subsidy for 2 and 3 wheelers, maybe for a year or 2 years. So, for example, on e-buses, the slab is 20,000 rupees per kilowatt hour. On 2 and 3 wheelers, it is 10,000. So we, in fact, have proposed, even through FICCI and other representations, that if for a period of 1 year or 2 years, that the slab for 2 and 3 wheelers can also be enhanced to 20,000, if not 20, then at least $15,000 rupees per kilowatt hour. It will really help to bridge that gap. And I think this is required because FAME scheme is designed in a way that good quality vehicles only qualify under FAME. So there, it will also ensure that good quality vehicles are applying on Indian streets. So I think that that would be an easier route to bridge this gap. Coming to the state policies, I think that many state policies are, have been announced, but not all have even been implemented yet. I think Delhi is an example where a lot of effort is being made to implement the policy which is envisaged. And I think it's a demand creation oriented policy. Most other state policies today are actually investment oriented and not really demand creation oriented. And each state government has its own vision, own views. So it will be quite difficult to bring them on the same platform, as far as subsidy goes. So I think if states can play a role of creating infrastructure, of ensuring that the permit waivers, etc., are implemented, making registration easier for two-wheeler electric vehicles, waiving of the registration and RTO costs. I think that's the role the states could probably play, maybe even in skilling. But as far as the subsidy goes, I think we should rely on the FAME policy, which is well designed, well structured, and well accepted. I think it's only for the next 2 years that electric 2 and 3 wheelers need this subsidy support. And there is a framework available. Why not put the foot on the pedal on what's available than creating something at the state level which is kind of disjointed, because each state has its own vision. So I think states should be pushed to implement, enable EV deployment, creation of EV ecosystem locally, like charging infrastructure and other things. And FAME should be used to bridge the pricing gap, and by enhancing the slab of 2 and 3 wheelers. This is what I believe. This is what I think might work. Sorry, one more thing I want to say, that states actually should work on deployment. For example, 3 wheelers, the big pain point is permits. So while MORTH has already waived permits for electric 3 wheelers, most states have not yet even implemented that. Even Delhi, which is kind of a more proactive state in this area, has not clearly stated its vision on the same. So if states actually can help in reducing these kind of obstacles and enabling purchase of electric 3 wheelers locally, that itself will be a great move forward, is what I believe.
Maybe let me continue on this. So I agree that subsidies is one of the most powerful instruments to promote electric vehicles. So we saw a lot of examples, both from developing countries and advanced countries, that they are promoting electrification of their transport by providing subsidies. And so it will take a couple years to reach the parity in cost of ownership for both electric vehicles and internal combustion engines. One thing that I would like just to continue on this, for India, it's really important to create an early group of winners. early group of supporters of electric vehicles. So right now, the sales of electric vehicles is very low. So we need to create this group of people who own electric vehicles and who can promote, who can say, who can engage the much larger number of people, but by showing their examples. And sometimes this work to also to overcome these barriers, the psychological barriers, this mistrust or misunderstanding. So the perception that electric vehicles is actually something cool, this is really important. So, and just to give example of Tesla in the US, the Tesla vehicles are more expensive than IC vehicles. And still people are eager to buy it just because this is something that you would like to belong to the group of this early winners, of this early owners of these vehicles. That's why it is so prestigious to have electric vehicles. So when I showed the example of this some dissatisfaction with electric vehicles in California that one particular study showed. So it was true about most electric vehicles, but not about Tesla. So that's why, for India, it's important to create its own brand. That electric vehicles, it is something prestigious. It is something from the future that is already happening today. I completely agree that energy subsidies would help to create this early group of winners in the country.
Thank you. So, any other questions from my colleagues here? Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and I appreciate again your joining us at this late hour on the World Environment Day. And so thank you once again for taking time out to be with us, to share your thoughts and to support us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. All the best. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.